So a lot of times when you're building brands, you are trying to find people when they're not necessarily looking for you. And well, how the heck do you do that? So today in our BrandOut banter, I have a friend and colleague, Cameron Muir, who is a SEO expert, and we're going to talk to him about SEO for brand building. Cameron, how you doing?
I'm well, Doug. How are you?
I am just fine. I'm excited to talk about this. So let's just get started. Tell me about how brand awareness SEO differs from, say, lead gen or actual transaction-based SEO. What's the overall view for the difference?
Yeah, so when people are beginning their purchasing journey, they're often not sure what company or service provider is best for their needs. And so they'll often start using non-branded terms, describing the problem or the solution they're looking for. And that's where the opportunity lies. If you can optimize your content organically for non-branded terms, describing the service or the need that they're often looking for, and you can use many tools to figure out what search volume is around there. You can craft your page and your content to pull in people on these non-branded term pages. So the difference there is that you're not optimizing for your brand name, and you're not specializing in any particular brand feature, but more creating content that can complement that. That way, when they come in further down the funnel and they have more of an awareness of who you are and what your brand represents and what you can provide, they can have an easy access to your content and figuring out where you are and how you fit into their purchasing journey.
That makes a lot of sense now that you explain it, but on one hand, it's kind of counterintuitive because if you want to grow your brand, what you're saying is actually don't use your brand name, which makes sense, like I said, but it's not really intuitive. What are some other things that people might do that make sense but don't really make sense?
Yeah, so it does seem counterintuitive, but you have to remember that when someone is starting their purchasing path, often they're turning to Google or search engines as just a researching partner. And they're not going into this unless they're a pre-exposed researcher who has external resources available. They're often starting this from square one.
Mm.
So your first step, despite what people think about throwing in a lot of brand familiarity and leveraging the brand name, which for established brands, certainly is one approach. But if you're starting out, you really want to make sure that you're approaching people where they are. And often they're at that very first step where they don't know what your brand name is, especially if you're a new brand or a younger brand. So a couple of things that you can do to approach that would be mixed media, for example. YouTube is a great tool that many companies are leveraging more extensively now, because what many people don't know is YouTube is actually the world's second largest search engine. Google, of course, being the first, but we don't often think of YouTube as being a search engine. So you're going in there and people can look up reviews, webinars, or any advertisement or content that you can churn out that can be available on there. And because Google does own YouTube, they're an integrated platform. So when they're searching for something, if you have creative and interesting content in video format, that can be indexed and leveraged within Google as well to attract people. So when you say things that seem counterintuitive, it's not all about just leveraging page after page of content, but about mixing your message and making sure that it's available across different platforms. And that's one way that people often make mistakes, is they'll all put it into one bucket. But SEO is all about being found across the web. And if you can make sure that you're visible in many different spaces, you're going to expose and penetrate that market a lot easier.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. What about content marketing? How can you use a content marketing strategy in conjunction with SEO to really help build a brand from an awareness perspective?
Yeah. So to generate awareness, you need between 2 and 4 different types of content, depending on what your goals are. And we typically bucket those into disruptive content, um, motivating content, and prescriptive. So those different buckets um, allow you to do certain things. So depending on the type of user that's coming to your site, and that can vary depending on what market you're in, the industry, and what the buy flow is, you need them to do different things. And generating that awareness is really different for what kind of person is coming in and what they're looking for. So typically with the first bucket, what you really want people to do is challenge their own preconceived notions of what you might be able to provide. And those are the knowledgeable buyers who may already have an idea of what they're looking for, but are maybe not open to different competitors. So what you want to do is you want to challenge that perspective. And what that means is by throwing in a statistic or some sort of interactive media that allows them to challenge their perspective. A great example that I came across recently was Paychex. So Paychex has a great calculator on their website that allows people who are considering either leveraging a partner or using bringing their Paychex system in-house. It allows you to measure what those in-house costs are and compares that against what a yearly subscription would be like with them if they did it with a provider. So that's the type of content that can be indexed and isn't specific to Paychex itself, but rather a tool that allows people to analyze what kind of costs they're going to be experiencing, and just happens to be with this particular partner. But that's a great way to challenge people's perspectives and bring awareness to what your brand can provide. Motivating content would be anything that could convince someone within an organization to be your spokesperson, someone who's willing to advocate for you. And content like that takes on the shape of more traditional content that we see. This could be white papers, this could be competitive reports, or brand advocacy. Those kinds of content are great for developing a relationship with whoever your buyer might be, so they can then go to their stakeholders and defend your brand and really advocate for the purchase of it. So diversifying your content among whether it's success stories that you've had with prior clients or having content that really promotes your brand over a competitor, whether that be through features or awards or whatever it is. That's a great way of getting someone on your side to defend against stakeholders. And then finally, prescriptive. Prescriptive content is all about telling people what the next step is. So if you have someone who's unfamiliar with either the brand or where they are in their buying journey, prescriptive content is all about ensuring that your consumer knows exactly what's coming up next. What should their next step be? Who should they reach out to? What is their next step in the flow? And that content can take the form of specific calls to action, demos available on your site, depending on what industry you're in, and all of that will then move that person down the funnel. Mm-hmm. So all of this comes under the umbrella of awareness because people are coming in at different levels of understanding and familiarity depending on what level they're coming in at, whether it's an IT manager who's looking for some sort of software service or someone who's looking to purchase a physical product. They're all coming in at different spaces of understanding and familiarity. So having a presence across all of that, you know, is going to really allow you to penetrate that space better, and have a much more profound impact on your consumer.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes total sense. Cameron,
Correct.
thanks a lot. We got to go because there's a lot of work to be done out there, and the folks that are watching need to get to it. But how can folks find you if they want to reach out and ask you a question or say hello?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn at Cameron A. Muir, and you can certainly email me as well at cmuir@carbonite.com. Please feel free to reach out to me at any point.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank all of you for watching. This has been a BrandOut Banter. I'm Douglas Spencer from Spencer Brenneman. Have a great day.